All right, everybody, welcome to the local squeeze formula, where we're going to be talking about the anatomy of a local landing page. And what I want to make sure is define landing page. A lot of you, I didn't really want to call it squeeze page. A squeeze page is a particular type of landing page, but there's other landing pages that, anything that someone lands on that is meant to have a particular end result. It is a landing page. What we're going to be talking about probably most closely resembles squeeze pages, but there are some elements, and you can certainly expand these principles to other pages depending on what you want your end result to be. So let's go ahead, let's see, here's what we're going to learn today. We're going to learn what types of businesses need landing pages, and I'll give you a little hint. Most of them need landing pages, could certainly use them. So we'll, I think, just think of your clients, think of any prospects you have, and if you have any particular niches or industries, that may be something that you can ask at the end of this presentation that we could go over. How a landing page would be used for a particular niche. We're going to talk about the purpose of local landing pages, deciding on a layout of a landing page, choosing your message, the important elements that every local landing page should have. We're going to talk about video versus no video, and where do they go? That's one of the big questions a lot of people have on squeeze pages and landing pages of local businesses. Where do they go? What do they attach to? And we'll talk about that as well as wrap it up with the value that you can actually bring with these landing pages. And they come in many shapes and sizes, things that you've seen many times before, squeeze pages, but also things that could be more like sales pages. Like I said, it's anything where you have a specific result, a specific outcome in mind from that particular page. It's not necessarily an informational page. It's designed to produce a result. So let's talk about that. The main purpose of a landing page. That's a trick question, of course, right? There should be a sole purpose to generate a conversion. I had my period, my emphatic statement here already showing. End of story, all right? The purpose of a landing page is to generate a conversion. If there is any other purpose that you have in mind, then it's not really a landing page, and there may be other elements that need to be designed. And that's where you may have some conflicts with your clients, depending on what they want. And remember, what they want and what they should have sometimes can be different things. But if it's anything other than to generate a conversion, then you might have to start looking at some other elements. But if you sit down to create a landing page specifically for that business to have a return, to show an increase in revenue from their online efforts, then you need to make that the sole purpose of that page. And a conversion can be many things. So a lot of times in typical internet marketing, traditional internet marketing, most people think of a conversion of a landing page or a squeeze page to be what? An opt-in. Or if it's a long sales, sales page, then a purchase. But with local landing pages, the conversion can be a lot of different things, and you may have some unique situations that call for a particular call to action, but it can still be accomplished through a landing pages using the principles of landing pages. So before you even get started with anything, you need to determine what the successful conversion is. Is it an opt-in? Is it a phone call? Is it a registration to an event or a class? Is it a submission form, like a request for service or request for estimate? Is it an in-store visit? It can certainly be an in-store visit where that conversion is to bring in a coupon or something printed off from the landing page. And it could certainly be a purchase. It's not necessarily just to be an opt-in. That conversion, a successful conversion can be defined as a purchase. So how do we decide on a layout of a landing page? So, you know, the one way is split testing. How many of you guys out there have done split testing or looked at it and thought, scratched your head? You know, there's a couple of different types of split testing out there. There's your A/B split test, which is kind of what is shown there, where essentially what you have in an A/B split test is you have a control page, and what that control page is the one that you've had out there and you've thrown a lot of traffic in. And I want to talk to you real quick about this because you know, I do things a little differently. In order to get accurate split testing, in my opinion, you have to throw a lot of traffic, and it has to be an offer that you can throw directed traffic, meaning traffic that is looking for that particular offer. It can't just be like pop-up traffic or anything like that. But when you're dealing with local businesses, it's very difficult to get the amount of traffic and to the amount of real data to make a solid decision, in my opinion, unless there's just a drastic drastic difference in the outcome. So this is typically when you're doing split testing with, let's say somebody's doing a big, you know, a dog training ebook or something, and something globally. You know, you'd have one version of the landing page that you use as your control, meaning you know that you put traffic over there over enough traffic over enough time that you have a predictable outcome for that landing page. And then you change something. You know, maybe you change the ebook cover, or you change the opt-in form, and that'll be version A. And then on the other version, you'll not change. You'll change the opt-in maybe to a longer form opt-in, and you'll have version B. And what you do is you test those versus the control. So if version A has a 12%, you know it outperformed the control. And if version B only did 7%, you know it didn't. So you know version B is out for that A/B. So what you can do now is, you know, version A outperformed the control. So what you may want to do is tweak something else from version A and make that the next version B, so you can keep getting better and better at it. But do you see where the problem with this is when you're doing it on a local level? Do you see how difficult that to actually get accurate information and actually make your time worth the time that you spend to put this together? I know it's a great way, and I know it's a way people like to, you know, sell things, that you got to do this, and there are people that are very technical, very what is it, a type A? I don't know whether I'm type A, type B. I get them mixed up, but there's the very analytical, and this is a must for them. And to me, it really is a lot of time spent when you're dealing at a local level on something that I don't feel that you're going to get a value out of it, and to where it's really going to be appreciable to you or your client. So that's A/B split testing. There's also multivariate split testing, where, you know, with this, just like in any kind of, if any of you that ever study psychology or anything, you know, with clinical trials, you have to be you can't, you know, you have to have your control and you have your variable, and that changes. But with multivariate, you actually can control and change multiple things on squeeze pages and test them at the same time. And it gets even more complex with more complex calculations. All right, so are you ready to see the Jack Mize simplified method of how to decide on a layout for a landing page? Yeah, I see a lot of you. Yeah, you're saying that you're starting to scratch your head about the split testing. All right. Well, here's the Jack Mize way of deciding on a layout. You cheat. You look over the shoulder of what the big guys are doing, and that's where I start. All right, so whatever niche that you're dealing in, all right, if you're dealing in anything local niche, there's always generally going to be a bigger player out there nationally that has done a lot of research, a lot of split testing, a lot of throwing money at traffic to determine what they feel is the best way to put this together. All right. So this is what I suggest you do. And you think about it, a lot of big companies have done that. How many of you, I don't know if it's anywhere else, I know there are other parts of the country, how many of you have noticed that wherever you see a Home Depot, what do you generally see right next to the Home Depot in a lot of parts of the country? You see a Lowe's store, right? How many of you see that? Hopefully it's not just in my area. Do you see a Lowe's right next to Home Depot? And I remember back in the day when Del Taco opened up right next door to Taco Bell. But you know, why do you think that they do that? Why would Lowe's, and that's the first thing people say, why would Lowe's open up right next door to Home Depot? And the reason is because Home Depot already did all the market research. They already did the geographical, you know, the studies. They've already done the demographic studies. Well, why repeat that just to tell them to go right next door? That's exactly what it is. So always, when you're on a local level, we have such a benefit to take advantage of the research and the dollars spent by a lot of big companies on these types of elements. So unless it's something that just really, really floats your boat, I wouldn't get too heavily involved in the traditional, very technical split testing, but rather take a look at what big guys are doing, and I can tell you that that's probably going to give you a good start and a further along start than what you would if you're just going from scratch. But even going from scratch is probably going to get you better results than what your local business, what your clients are doing currently. So one of my favorite ways to take a look at the elements of landing pages for big guys is I love looking at CPA offers. If you're not familiar, it's cost per action offers from CPA networks, because those guys have spent a ton of money because they spend $5, $10, $20 per lead, not for a buy, you know, where if you're an affiliate, you sell something, you get a fee. You can generate those leads and get paid just for the lead. You know, education, lots of online colleges, things like that pay big bucks just for leads. And believe me, when they're paying that much for leads, they're spending a ton of money on testing their landing pages. All right, so take a look at what the big guys are doing. Here's auto loans. Look what they're doing on their landing pages. Here's payday loans, Paychex. I can tell you right now, Paychex, the payroll company, I followed them for several years because I've always been really intrigued with the way that they do their landing pages and the elements that they put into their landing pages. So if you take a look at CPA offers or you take a look at guys, you can easily see ways that you can incorporate that with local businesses. You know, you just take a look at the Biggest Loser there. If you've got a personal trainer, then you've got a great head start on a landing page that probably does pretty well. If you're doing auto loans, I'm going to tell you this is a great niche too. Just by the way, any of you doing car dealers, be sure and check out your used car lots and find out who does their risk financing, and with the bad credit and bruised loans, because there's a great lead generation opportunity there and a very easy one to tackle. So if you're dealing with a local payroll company that does payroll for small businesses, look at the Paychex, but just look at them. And then a good way to do that is anybody that's paying for Google ads on a global or a national basis, don't get click happy and running out their budgets, but take a look, and I can tell you that what you see, the page that they have dedicated to their pay-per-click campaign is going to be different than their home page, because they're paying for that traffic, so they've pared that down to the bare essentials of what is going to have the best expectation to the best expectations for generating a lead. And so anytime you see a squeeze page like this is what I'm talking about when I talk about a CPA style lead, because they're paying for an action. What they're doing is they're paying big money just to get the lead, not to make the sale, but just to capture the lead. So that's what you'll be able to. And you can look at at CPA companies out there that, oh man, the names escape me at the moment. But they're CPA networks. If you can get inside, if you're a member of Commission Junction, CJ.com is Commission Junction. If you can go in there and look at their offers, you'll see very similar type landing pages that you see here. That's a great resource to take a look at these types of landing pages. All right, so let's take a look at some of these. All right. For instance, Paychex. This is a perfect example. Like I was talking about Paychex. Well, this is their landing page for paid ads when they're doing, like Google AdWords or anything like this. But this is there if you just find them in organic search. A little bit less. Look at this. What do you notice here for organic search? You'll see more menu links. You'll see more navigation. You'll see down here, this kind of got cut off, but information about their iPad app, other things like that. But when they're paying and they're going after straight lead generation, all right, you go after straight lead generation, what do they want? They have a phone number, and put the number of employees you have and hit next. What is that for? Because that starts you in the process. You get started in the process. That's what you want. They want to get you engaged, and they want to get a person that is a warm lead that is really interested in what they have. All right. So let's take a look here. Let's say you're dealing with an insurance company. All right. If you're dealing with an insurance company, and you don't know where to start as far as a landing page, you go do some searches out there for different insurance, and look at this. This is some of the leading insurance companies out there. This is Allstate, this is Geico, we have AAA, we have Progressive. What is the common thing that you see among these landing pages? What do you see here? Yeah, look at that. A zip code submit. First thing they ask for is a zip code. All right, they may have some other things, phone numbers on here, but that is the one standout that whether you knew why or not, would you say that someone spent a ton of money to determine that this was the best way to start the funnel for an insurance lead? Do you think someone spent a ton of money on, you think somebody spent a ton of money on split testing? What should be the front end funnel of insurance? Well, that's exactly right. So if you're looking for a place to start and you have an insurance client, then I would start looking at some of these elements. And generally what you find is what this does, you have an advantage by being local, because these funnels lead into their big national database. Being local, you have a little bit more flexibility and latitude, because what do we want if we're generating a lead for a local business? What do we also want to be very prominent on these pages? You want the phone number with a local, not a 800. You want a phone number to be very prominent, because remember, what is a conversion? A conversion doesn't have to be an opt-in. Of conversion, we're looking for bringing in a customer. I really like Progressives because it gives it, some of the elements of squeeze pages, people like numbers, they like order, and this kind of gives them a heads up of what to expect. Oh, it's simple. 3 steps. All right, this is step 1. Start my quote. I just have to put my zip code in, and so that gives them an indication of kind of what is to come. But if this was a local business, I would have really big right here the phone number, and have this process right here and start looking at this process. Now, the zip code here, what you may want to do, think about it, there's a lot of technology that goes behind this, all right? And guess what, as a local business, do we care what the zip code is? Do we care? Generally, we don't care. So do we really need anything programmatically behind this box? So don't get caught up. Don't give yourself, you know, don't turn 25-cent problems into $50 problems. Just have the box and let it hit next. You could care less what the zip code is, but something out there is saying that zip codes are a great way to introduce this funnel. All right, so take a look at these and then start realizing that there's a method to their madness, clearly, since multiples are doing the exact same thing. All right, now, even if you get it horribly wrong, this was my very first lead generation site. This was horrible, and I still made money from the 2 days. I got my first lead 2 days after I put this site up, and I've generated leads every month. You know, and the site doesn't look like this any longer. This was actually in March of 2005. But any lead, any landing page works better than no landing page, all right? So what I want you to do, I don't want you to be intimidated when you see these kind of landing pages with high gloss graphics, you know, anything like that. Don't let that be an obstacle for you. And we're going to talk about that, the looks and really the message. So just keep in mind, it doesn't have to be look like that, but just take a look at the principles and make sure you understand the principles, okay? The second thing is keep it simple, all right? Don't get caught up in bells and whistles. Don't get caught up in cool, all right? Because it's so easy to do, and believe me, I get it too, but simplicity is going to be your best friend when you go and do this and not just about anything with local businesses. Just the simpler you make it, the simpler it is to change, the simpler it is to adjust and go with the flow as things change, which they always do. So keep it simple. Too much information, other ads, unnecessary sizzle, that say distracts. If you have anything, you know, running around the screen, animation, anything like that, you don't necessarily want things that are going to distract. A lot of people, I've seen guys that say, well, should I put some, you know, ads on there or anything like that? Or I've even seen people put AdSense on their landing pages and squeeze page. Don't do it. Remember, you want to have you want to have it to be a sole purpose, one purpose only, to generate that conversion. All right, you don't want traditional sidebar items. You know, with the you might also like this to another ad or another offer. Less is more always. Remember that, less is more. And give your message definitely room to breathe. Use plenty of white space. Don't be afraid of there being a lot of white space on this. You want to be able to have them see your message, so don't feel like it's missing some graphical elements, because it's probably not, because you can really get to where it distracts if you do have that. All right, you want to limit navigation. All right, you want to try to avoid traditional menu layouts. If you're doing traditional website, then you know you would probably have a larger menu, you know, maybe up at the top with your standard home, about us, you know, all that kind of stuff. But with a landing page, because you want to highly target a specific action, which is that conversion, you don't want to distract them with that. So the goal is to keep the visitor on the page and focused on your message until the conversion. Now, if you're doing things like SEO, and believe me, we'll get to talking about the SEO and how we present our landing pages here in a little bit, because you have different options, and that's actually part of the big value of this. But SEO and marketing elements for paid ads, like sitemaps, privacy policy, you know, terms, any citation info that you have on there that you want to you know, match up to Google Places or anything like that, should always, in my opinion, be put very subtly at the footer. I don't want those links to be there for human eyes. I want those links to be there mostly to meet quality guidelines and to allow search engines to follow through to index those and to crawl the site and to find any additional pages. Because I'll talk about that even though you have a one-page landing page, you can actually have a domain with multiple pages on it, multiple landing pages. You want to limit or eliminate completely. My preference is to eliminate completely conspicuous external links. All right, the last thing you would want to do is to send visitors away from the page. That's what always, whenever I've seen people with landing pages that after doing all this, they put a big old block of AdSense or something right there on the page. Just makes me cringe. So that's what you want to make sure that you keep it very, very specific purpose. So remember, try to eliminate external links, but anything that you need as far as privacy and terms of service and all that, put those links down at the bottom that are subtle. It's not you want to hide them, you don't want to put them in white text or anything like that, but there's no need to make them jump out because we're not there to attract your visitors to go look at those. All right, keep it on one page. All right, like I said, one domain can be a home to multiple landing pages, and I'll talk about that here in a bit. You want to keep individuals, offers, and campaigns all on one page. What you don't want to do is make visitors navigate to multiple pages to get the information. You don't want to be talking about, here you can get mortgages, right here. If you're looking for, low rate mortgages, click here. If you're looking for this, click here. You don't want them to click around to see the offer. You want a landing page to be one particular offer, one particular message to market, and keep it on one page. Even if that page is a mile long, if you're doing a sales page or a registration page for an event or anything, keep it on one page. Because as much as you may hate long form sales letters, the fact is they work because they don't make people jump around, and you just want to keep it all there on one page. Because remember, a landing page for local businesses doesn't just have to be a squeeze page, an opt-in. It can come into a number of forms, whether it's a sales page, but anything that you're looking for a specific conversion. All right. Yeah. Just like, a landing page could be a long-form sales letter. I've done several long-form pages for local event registrations and things like that, where the people have had it to where it's more like a website where they jump around from page to page and completely changes the dynamic. So what you see here, when we talk about opt-in forms, there's a couple of different different ways that you can do this. My own personal preference and opinion is I like opt-in forms to be on the right-hand side of pages. All right, if they're not on the right-hand side, the furthest I want them over is to be kind of in the middle of the page, where something like this would be. I don't like them to be over the left-hand side. And one of the reasons, and a lot of the things that I've studied, show because of the way that we read here from left to right. We don't want anything to inhibit the message. We want them to read the message and lead them right over to the opt-in form. Now, there's a lot of different schools of thought in how many pieces of information should you get in an opt-in form. All right, so when we're dealing locally, it's a little bit different than just getting a zip code or an email address, because a lot of times you have, for instance, this is a We Buy Houses. They'd like to qualify the lead a little bit. They want to know a little bit about that lead so they can do just a little research and be informed and speak and give the person some actual information when they call them back. And here's interesting. With typical squeeze pages, like enter your email to get this ebook, then the less information, the better. A lot of people just want an email. If you just put your email in, you'll get the freebie. But here's an interesting thing that I'm starting to really investigate and starting to see really the principles behind the psychology of it. If you're dealing with a financial, like for instance mortgage or insurance, people that are serious that really want to purchase this thing, it's almost better to have more information so they feel like they are starting the process. Does that make sense? That because I've done mortgage sites where, you know, I've told the people, no, don't start asking them about too much about their credit and past, you know, what their employment is and what their past, you know, how long they've lived in houses. You don't want to do that on the landing page. That's too much information. But with playing and really studying some national lenders and things like that, I'm starting to see that perhaps there's a psychological benefit to asking for that more information, because it makes the people feel like they're engaging, that that's what they want, that they feel like a page that's asking that information is actually putting them in the process of getting done what they want to get done. So really look at the industry, and look at what the industry is doing typically for any type of submission forms. Now, if you're dealing with a service business, are they submitting to get a free estimate? Are they submitting to get a you know, a bid request? So when someone wants something like that, they generally don't mind putting in more information. You know, I do clients who want their prospects to put in requests for free estimates on services, or, you know, request for bids, and more information works out fine. Now, there's other businesses that a free ebook or a free report will get them they'll get more opt-ins from a very short form, like just an email, just a name and email. So look at what the industry is doing, depending on what your industry is, and don't be afraid to kind of go with that. You don't necessarily need to fight that. If you're dealing with the financial industry and there's quite a bit of information that they're looking for, you may want to at least test that and see if it's getting the you know, the leads that you're looking for. If you're seeing that you are getting, you know, a lot of visitors there, but nobody's filling it out, then it's time to do a little change. You don't necessarily have to do a hardcore split test, but that is definitely something that you want to test, the long form versus just the couple of pieces of information, because, you know, sometimes all they want, if they can get that name and phone number, that's all they need to start the prospecting. Now, you can also think about it that a landing page doesn't have to have any opt-in at all. You know, what if the conversion is a phone call? All right. So if the conversion is a phone call, then that's fine. You don't have to have an opt-in, but you know, just make sure that everything directs to that to generate that phone call. All right. So here's kind of an interesting piece of this: is what does color mean? And you know, I remember I used to see studies of this back early on in the web, where they had different meanings to color for different websites. But just like with the split testing, look at what big companies are doing, because you know they poured a lot of money into the studies of this, and it can actually make a bit of a difference. And I'm going to tell you, don't get consumed with color, because a lot of these companies, they're looking for that 0.25% difference in conversion to make it worthwhile changing everything. Okay, if your client has very specific colors, part of their branding or anything like that, and that's what they want, then incorporate it. All right, don't get too caught up and consumed with these colors. But if you're starting from scratch, you may want to consider this for some of the elements. This doesn't mean to make the whole website yellow, red, blue, purple. This means incorporating some of these elements can have an effect. Whether it's an appreciable effect, it depends on what the traffic is, what the industry is. So typically, if you see this, and you know, you can you know, give me a yay or nay when you see this, if this is what you feel or what you see when you are looking at ads or any type of marketing. Yellow, they say, is youthful optimism. It's attention grabbing. How many of you have seen the signs out on the side of the road, you know, that people put up? It's generally real estate or the mattress, you know, furniture company or whatever. You see a lot of those yellow signs. Why do you think they put those out there? Because it does grab your attention. When you're looking at headlines, you ever notice that highlight, that yellow highlighter to highlight a very important piece of the headline? So that's what the yellow can bring to the visual element. Red is implying energy. It implies a deal. And that's one thing. If you are dealing with a business that really is, you know, competes on price, if price is part of their value proposition, that they are the bargain, you know, how many of you see reds? Well, you know, why do you think a lot of coupons have the red borders, broken borders? Do you see that? If you've seen that and you agree with that, what do you start noticing that? Anytime you see coupons or you get coupons in the mail, start looking at that. If you get a mailer in the mail, start looking at those print ads, and those will give you very good indications of some of the elements that can be put on landing pages, because landing page is really a online ad. That's exactly what it is an online ad. Blue brings in trust, security, hope, stability. You'll see a lot of banks, finance. Think about a lot of the banks that you see out there. You're look at AT&T or anything like that. That's what they say, that blue brings in that feeling of trust, that the stability. So if you're dealing with a company that the prospect, that's an important point for the prospect, then you may want to consider bringing in blue into that, to bring into that trust. Think about, you know, you'll generally see blue in you know, some credit cards. What is it, Citibank? You know, a number of financial institutions and banks. A lot of times you'll see blue in their logo or their colors. Purple, as I say, brings in royalty, that it's soothing, calm, beauty, cosmetic. Think about it. If you think about not even a particular brand, but if you start thinking about hair salons or anything like that, you're starting to see that purple or purple, you know, derivatives of purple, whether it's lavender, mauve, whatever you want to call it. That's what you typically see. Green, a lot of times, is wealth, fun, finance. Generally they say the darker green, forest green, and things like that is more on the wealth side, and the lighter greens are more on the fun and entertainment side. Orange, aggressive, fun, sales, sports, athletics. Think about orange. I don't even know why. I can't even tell you. All I see is the Nike, but when I see orange, do you see athletic gear? Do you see sports, whatever? I can't even think of why I think that when I see orange, but I think of sports equipment or sports logos. Black, sleek, powerful, luxurious, I guess kind of dark too. You see a lot of, you know, I guess if you see some darker kind of edgy stuff, that's what I also think is edgy, would be into black. If you see like real high-end jewelry stores, you know, you think of the black velvet and things like that. And then pink, you know, pink is pink. It's generally applied to the feminine, you know, female market, girls, women's products and services. So like I said, this is just to give you an indication that there are meanings that are applied to color, that people, you know, psychologically will associate things with different colors. So it's something to keep in mind, but like I said, don't get consumed with it, because everything that we just, you know, went over, all these different elements are great, but even if you screw up and get them wrong, you can still do well as long as you get the message right.